gonna have a great day. So let's move
Jennie
on to our
Kim
next
has
song,
just delivered
Star
what
War.
may be one of the most emotional endings to a festival run that fans have ever seen. After spending the past 3 months performing, traveling, meeting fans, and stepping onto some of the biggest stages, Jennie returned to Japan for one final major performance at Summer Sonic 2026. But nobody expected the night to end with the BLACKPINK star fighting back tears in front of a sold-out crowd. What started as another explosive Jennie performance quickly turned into a deeply personal farewell, leaving thousands of fans inside Expo 70 Commemorative Park and millions watching from afar completely emotional. And somehow, the final moments became even more heartbreaking when Jennie finally explained just how much these past 3 months had meant to her. Jennie headlined the air stage at Summer Sonic Japan in Osaka on August 16th, bringing the festival to one of its biggest and most anticipated finales. The atmosphere was already intense before she even appeared. Fans had packed the venue, waiting to see one of the biggest names in global K-pop take over the stage. And Jennie did exactly what everyone expected from her. She came out with confidence, energy, and the kind of stage presence that has become one of the defining parts of her career. From the very beginning, it was clear that she had no intention of slowing down. She moved across the stage, interacted with the audience, and delivered song after song as fans screamed her name. Among the performances that stood out were Less Than a Lover and One of the Girls, 2 tracks that immediately pushed the energy inside the venue even higher. Fans were singing along, screaming every lyric, and capturing every moment on their phones. The entire performance had the feeling of a celebration, but there was something else happening beneath the surface. This wasn't simply another festival appearance for Jennie. It was the final stop in a long run of performances that had taken her through an exhausting 3-month period. And as the night continued, Jennie once again showed exactly how much she was willing to give to her fans. The conditions were far from easy. The heat became intense, and at one point she even experienced an outfit mishap because of the temperature. But instead of allowing the problem to completely disrupt the performance, Jennie pushed through it. She continued performing, continued engaging with the crowd, and refused to let the difficult conditions take away from what was supposed to be a special night. That moment quickly became another example of Jennie's resilience. For an artist performing under intense heat in front of a massive festival audience, even a small wardrobe issue can become distracting or uncomfortable. But Jennie remained focused. She kept going, and the audience responded by giving her even more energy in return. The fans clearly understood what they were watching. This wasn't simply an idol completing another scheduled performance. It was an artist giving everything she had to the people who had supported her throughout this chapter. But then came the moment nobody was prepared for. After the final performance, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The energy that had filled the festival grounds began to soften as Jennie took a moment to speak directly to the audience. Instead of immediately moving on to the next part of the show, she stopped and looked out toward the crowd. Then she delivered a message that instantly changed the entire mood. "Thank you so much for being with me for the past 3 months. I love you guys. I'll see you very soon." It was already an emotional message. But then fans noticed something in Jennie's voice. She was struggling to hold herself together. Her voice began to break, and before long, tears started falling. That was the moment the entire performance suddenly felt different. For fans who had followed Jennie's journey throughout these past 3 months, hearing those words was more than just a simple goodbye. It felt like the closing of an important chapter. 3 months of performances, travel, preparation, pressure, excitement, and unforgettable moments had all led to this final stage. And when Jennie finally stood there and allowed herself to show her emotions, fans realized just how much the journey had affected her. Social media immediately began filling with emotional reactions. Fans who had been celebrating her powerful performance only moments earlier were suddenly sharing clips of Jennie crying. Many admitted that they had not expected to see her become so emotional, especially after watching her maintain such a confident presence throughout the entire show. Some fans said they felt both heartbroken and proud at the same time. Heartbroken because they knew the moment represented the end of a long journey, but proud because Jennie had managed to push through every challenge and finish it on such a powerful note. Others focused on the meaning behind her words. When Jennie said she would see everyone very soon, fans immediately began wondering what could be coming next. Was another major project already being prepared? Would she return to Japan again? Was there another performance, release, or surprise waiting around the corner? Nobody had the answers, but one thing was clear. Jennie wasn't saying goodbye forever. And that small detail gave the emotional moment a completely different feeling. Instead of being a devastating farewell, it became more like the end of one chapter before the beginning of another. The timing also made the moment even more significant. Jennie's Summer Sonic appearance came during an extremely busy period for the BLACKPINK star. Over the past few months, fans have watched her move from one major schedule to another, constantly appearing on stages and in different parts of the world. The physical demands alone would have been enormous. Yet she continued showing up and delivering performances with the same level of confidence and intensity. That is why fans were especially emotional when they saw her finally let her guard down. Jennie has built a reputation for appearing incredibly composed on stage. Even when things don't go according to plan, she often finds a way to keep moving. Whether it's technical problems, difficult conditions, unexpected moments, or the pressure of performing in front of thousands of people, she has repeatedly shown that ability to stay focused. But on this night, there was no need to hide the emotion. She had reached the end. The final song had been performed. The crowd had given her everything they had. And after 3 months of sharing these moments with fans, Jennie finally allowed herself to feel the weight of it. Inside the sold-out crowd at Expo 70 Commemorative Park, fans weren't simply watching a superstar finish a festival set. They were witnessing a rare vulnerable moment from one of the world's biggest K-pop artists. And that vulnerability is exactly what made the moment so powerful. Within minutes, clips of Jennie's emotional speech began spreading across social media. Fans replayed the moment again and again, focusing on the second her voice broke and the tears appeared. Some fans said they could barely watch the footage without crying themselves. Others praised Jennie for continuing the performance despite the heat and the outfit issue, arguing that the moment showed just how dedicated she was to giving the audience the performance they deserved. There was also a strong sense of pride among fans. Jennie had not simply survived the schedule. She had dominated it. Every stage brought a different crowd, a different environment, and a different set of expectations. Yet she continued performing, continuing to improve, and continuing to connect with the people who came to see her. And Summer Sonic became the perfect place to close this particular chapter because it gave Jennie one final opportunity to stand in front of a massive Japanese audience and simply perform. The response from the crowd made it obvious how much that connection mattered. When Jennie spoke, fans listened. When she cried, fans cried with her. And when she promised that she would see them again very soon, they held on to those words. For many fans, that final sentence became the most important part of the entire night. Because despite the tears, there was no sense that Jennie wanted to leave her fans behind. If anything, her message suggested the exact opposite. She was thanking them for staying with her throughout the journey and reminding them that this wasn't the end. It was simply a pause. And perhaps that's why the ending felt so bittersweet. Jennie walked onto the stage as a global superstar expected to deliver another unforgettable performance. She walked off as an artist who had just shared a deeply personal moment with the people who had been beside her throughout an exhausting 3 months. The heat couldn't stop her. The outfit mishap couldn't stop her. The pressure couldn't stop her. And even when the emotions finally became overwhelming, she still finished what she came to do. That is what made this Summer Sonic performance so memorable. It wasn't perfect because everything went according to plan. It was memorable because Jennie kept going even when things became difficult. And when everything was finally over, she didn't pretend that the journey hadn't affected her.
She cried.
She thanked her fans. And she told them she loved them. For an artist who has spent years performing under enormous pressure, that simple moment may have said more than any perfectly choreographed stage ever could. Summer Sonic 2026 may have officially ended Jennie's 3-month performance journey, but judging by the reaction from fans, this is hardly the end of the story. If anything, her emotional goodbye has made fans even more curious about what comes next. Because when Jennie looked at that enormous crowd through tears and said, "I'll see you very soon," fans heard something they desperately wanted to believe. This wasn't goodbye. It was only the beginning of whatever Jennie Kim has planned next.